today we are talking freedom of speech. My guests are here, and I'll quickly let them introduce themselves to you, and then we get on with the discussion. From my far right.
The name is Kojo Addo from African University College of Communications.
I'm Benedict Sanate, a student of the University College of Management Studies.
I'm Cheba from the National Film and Television Institute.
Thank you all, and you're welcome.
Thank you.
Now, how free is speech or expression? From you, Kojo.
A speech is free if it say that at least you are not limited by any rules or regulations in a particular settings. It means that you are able to say what is on your mind without any fear of being arrested, without any fear of being penalized by a group of people. So in a sense, you're in a society, something is bothering you, at least you could speak your mind on it, on any platform, at any given time. That is what I would define as a speech that we say that is free, that you can make it at any time without anybody harassing you.
Is it a right or it's a privilege?
Okay.
I'll take that from.
Yeah, I would have first said you were asking how free is speech, and I think speech is the gift of God to man. I mean, no one has been put into a state of quietism ever. So speech could be declared as the most free thing that anyone can get. I mean, if man is free, then speech is free. But as to whether it's a privilege or right, you know, learners have always put privilege to be certain rights which are reserved for a particular class of people. So if speech is free to all, then it certainly is a right. It cannot be a privilege.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, if I meet you in town, and under normal circumstances, well, we are not quarreling, but then I tell you that look at your ugly face. Do I stand to be prosecuted?
Yes. You know, as much as speech is free, one needs to understand that there are rules and regulations. The foundations and the fathers of the Declaration of the Word Freedom of Speech started way back in the Greek era, which said that speech should be not just free, but it should be existent of the truth. Now, you can't just say things that in the text of law, there are too many things that can go against you. Defamation, insightfulness, instigations of untruthful things. There are too many things. In as much as it is free, there are also some limitations that you need to put upon yourself.
Kojo, should there be a limit to what we do or say?
Yes, there should be. Let's just talk about. Let's say that we're talking about the Constitution of Ghana, which has in it certain things, guidelines, rules, and regulations for as to the freedom of individuals, the right of individuals, freedom of the media, and how they should operate. There's a saying that where your freedom ends, somebody else's right begins from there. So at the end of the day, in as much as I am free to do anything in my bedroom, within the confines of my bedroom, if I am within the four walls of TV Africa, it means that there are certain rules and regulations that I need to abide by them. One, my movement. It also has to do with my speech. As we are here, I cannot talk, I cannot say certain things because we know that we are confined to a studio setup. Our language should be something that is decent. So at the end of the day, yes, there should be a limitation to anything that you want to say on this earth. Even if
the Constitution, this same Constitution protects us. It gives us the right to say anything at all that we like.
Yeah, but let's not forget the fact that in as much as you really want to say anything that you really want to say, put yourself in the shoes of somebody that you're really talking about, because at the end of the day, we're talking, speech comes about when you want to talk about an individual or an issue. So let's say it concerns you as you sitting down and I make a statement. Are you going to be okay with the kind of statements that I make? Are you going to feel offended? My brother talked about defamation of character. I mean, if I should say anything to defame you, are you going to be okay with it? Are you going to take it lightly or not? So, in as much as I have the right to talk or to say anything, I should look at it in the context that I wouldn't step on the toes of anybody at all. But certain times we go beyond it and then we say that we apologize for it. So if you ask me, I say that there should be limitations to it, as to what you say, where you say it, and how you say it.
Benedicta?
Yeah, there should be limitation. As humans as we are, psychologically, if you are infringing on someone's right, you should feel it, you should know it. Even though we are saying that speech is free, you should know when and what to say it. And as my brother said, the truth, you don't just fabricate any information or issues because you want things to suit yourself. You should look at the circumstances, the condition in which you are saying it. If it's really true, before you say it, there should be limitation. Even the law, as in Article 208, helps people, or like it protects individuals from being criminalized or restrained from it, prosecuted from it. Thank you. See, and if you look at that, we will be going on saying things or trying to infringe on others' rights. But as my Kojo said, where your right ends, others begins. So you should know when and how to go about your speech.
Okay, let me have your view on that.
You see, Kojo said something about decency. I have to say that one thing I find very perturbing is choice of word. I mean, decency is subjective. Yeah. What I may deem decent wouldn't be necessarily to you. So if we are to have such a generalization, then we are more or less curtailing people's freedom. We must understand that the freedom of speech has got no limit. First and foremost, it is a natural right. It is a God-given right. But the framers of the Constitution, in their wisdom, I think the Criminal Code of 1960, Section 208, puts certain limitations. And now these limitations do not curtail what you say.
So then in the Constitution, there's a limit to what we say.
It isn't part of the Constitution.
It isn't.
No. You see, the Criminal Code is a different entity as compared to the 1992 Constitution. It has, these things were framed as far back as 1969. That part of the Constitution talks about slander and libel. Now, you and I recall that in the Eswako administration, the criminal libel law was expanded from the Constitution. Now, what I say, now, if I stand on a platform to more or less defame you, you have the right to seek for a redress, or as it were, take me to court. Now, I am not going to be, for that reason, prevented from saying what I feel I have to say. I have the right to say whatever I want to say, when and how I want to say it. But as a human, then you actually have to talk about morality. How do I judge myself? Would I be happy if someone is saying these things about me? But do understand that these things, whether I like it or when I say it, you can't hold me on by what I say. I have the natural right to say what I have to say. Human beings as we are, we need to assess ourselves and understand.
Let me be clear on this. You said it's the libel thing is part of the Constitution. It's some part of the Constitution.
It's not part of our Constitution.
It is not part of the, but then it's found in the Constitution.
It is found in the Criminal Code of 1960. It isn't part of the 1992 Constitution. No part of the Constitution has it. The Article 21 of our Constitution gives us freedom of speech and expression. And to the extent
no
that
limits
even
at
goes
all.
to the press, there are no limits. There are no responsibilities to the right. It is the only right that has got no responsibility. We need to understand.
So
but
then how does it help our
let's
democracy?
Look at it in that way, that if you say that I have limitless way of expressing myself, are you ready for the consequences that will come at the end of the day? You get me? We're talking about morality. We're talking about decency. I mean, what part of it as well too. If I would say anything at all under any platform, whether I'm being forced to say it or out of my own will, I should be ready to take responsibility of my actions and inactions. So if you say it's limitless, you can say anything. My brother might say something now, and a whole swoop of army will be here to take him away. Is he ready? And is he going to say that because the criminal libel law, the criminal libel law came in place because they knew the consequences that might arise, what the Constitution has stipulated that freedom of speech will have. So at least that it's also as serving as a more guideline for us to know that even if you have the right to say anything you want to say, my brother, at least there is some sort of limitation.
We need to understand this. The freedom of speech is the only natural law without responsibility. First point, just get that part.
Okay.
It is a subjective idea to talk about morality. What you will deem moral wouldn't be to the other person. So when you say that a certain choice of words is immoral to you, it doesn't mean it's immoral to me. Like I said, it is my responsibility as a human being to assess what I'm about to say. In any case, I am not bound to know what and when not to say. No part of the Constitution restricts me as to what to say. There are, in the criminal code, when I incite people, there has to be some knowledge of truth. The constitution, the law says that at least you should have been fully aware of certain informations. There are information that are verifiable facts. If I have these informations and I do put them out there, it is left to the person who has been defamed or incited to come out and then state his or her case. Assuming I have said something to have defamed you, you have the redress process, that is the court. You take me there, you can sue me on tort of negligence or any other aspect of the law. If I am found culpable, then I'm being reprimanded, and as it were, punitive measures are instigated against me. But then I am not restricted as to what to say. It is very much important that we set ourselves the limitations, but there is no part of that in our constitution.
Are we bounded by this code we're talking
It
about?
is. Every Ghanaian is bounded by a criminal code.
Then that is to say, rights are not it's not limitless, like you say.
The only right which is limitless is the freedom of speech. Every other right has got limit. It is the natural. It is the gift of God to mankind.
And we
You
talking
can't
about
put any
about
person into
talking about
fight.
gift
I
of
want to
God,
bring,
Benedict,
you know.
I want to bring in, when
Yeah.
you said that demoralized or being moralized in your perspective, how you say it. But when you talk about Ghana, when you look at our culture, you see, there are things that everyone sees genuinely to be wrong or good. So
How do you
irrespective,
define
We
gender?
really
no,
hold our
like
morality
everyone,
in
yes,
high
in terms
esteem.
of
You know
culture, if you
that.
take our culture in perspective, as in what every culture and how they go about their things. So you can't tell me that, okay, you are saying that if this is bad, to me it's good. No, but some of the things are generally accepted.
We know it's bad.
Yes, so if it's bad, it's bad. Even though the speech is free, that doesn't mean that you should have your limits.
As a human
As
being,
a
I would
human
want
being,
to set
yes.
for myself a limit, but we need to understand that there are no limitations.
There are no
in the
limitations, alright,
Constitution,
but
unless
then-
of course we want to rewrite the constitution
Not
for the
to
next
rewrite the
generation.
Because at the end of the
Constitution.
day, no, you're saying that it's a God-given,
Yes, the only right.
only God-given right. But let's not forget that in any jurisdiction,
Not the only God-given right. There's the right to life. and
at
the
least,
only
but
right
that
without limit.
is limitless.
Okay, let's
Great.
have-
I mean,
let's go
let's
on.
not forget that in
Yeah.
any jurisdiction, you have rules and regulations governing you.
Yes.
You understand? When you take the law of natural aside or nature aside, you know that you are in Ghana. There are certain things that are governing you as a human, as to your way of movement, how to do things. So let's put aside it, nature for once, and let's look at rules and regulations governing us. You get what I mean? Now, if rules and regulations are governing us, and I say that I can say anything at all at any time, and I feel that I can go scot-free, it's not done anywhere at all, because anything you say, whether it's a criminal libel kind of thing or defamation of an individual, you stand to suffer positively or negatively out of it. Anything you say, people are going to judge your personality by what you say, though you have the right to say it. I mean, you say it and people are going to tag you that, listen, this is how Benedicta is because she's towing this direction, and that is your opinion. But at the end of the day, you stand to suffer from it, positively or negatively. So let us know that we are bound. We are really, really bound. Certain rules.
Yeah.
Let me say this. I initially said that freedom of speech comes with the nature of truth.
Sure.
You just don't say it because you want to say it. There should be some element
Amount
of
of
truth.
truth in
There
it.
should be information and verifiable facts.
Sure.
I did say
And
that.
those are the limits.
But these don't limit you. These are the conditions that you need to take into consideration before you speak. They do not limit you. We need to understand that as human,
What would be the reason for you to take into consideration that?
because you want to
If
put out
not
the
for it
truth.
to limit you.
I wouldn't want to defame you because I'm about to say something that can hurt your image. So I would want to be careful not to defame you. I would want to be careful not to incite the people to do the wrong thing. I wouldn't want to put out wrong information.
In this case, then we are dealing with morality.
So subjectively, assuming I want to say A, B, C is equal to Z, which is not true. In my understanding, it is true. It won't be to you. So if I go out to say that and you come tell me that no, it cannot be true, then more or less you are imposing your understanding to me. So then you are restricting me to think like you do. But if I have verifiable fact to say that A, B, C is Z,
Is this.
and I can prove it to you, I have information, I have facts out there. It is left to you to come and defend or, as it were, oppose what I have said. But you can't tell me that, Albert, I want you to think this way. Then you're actually telling me to stop existing as who I am.
Of
and
course, you are
exist
free
as
to
you.
express yourself.
Beautiful. But as human, I need to be able to know that what I'm about to say is a lie. Hence, I need to put out information that can be verified. If I fail to do that, it is left to you to come and tell the public that it isn't so. then probably I'll be tagged as a misinforming person, which I may suffer from that. But this suffering will not stop me from actually wanting to say or not say something.
At the end of it, you are confined in a very particular state that you can't go beyond it. So that confinement limits you from expressing or saying other things which will like endanger someone's attitude or someone's status. You get it? So there's a confinement, and that's a limitation.
Now let's look at certain incidents that have happened just recently. I mean, in our media, at least. One prominent among them, more or less, has to do with political colors. So somebody made a statement concerning the former president and everything like that. He was on radio making that statement. You get me? And within a twinkle of an eye, the radio station has been surrounded by BNI officials. He was picked up. He was sent to the BNI office. And he spent almost a few weeks over there. And he was like, oh, I have the freedom to say anything that I want. But at the end of the day, you should know that
it was against national security.
It was at least national security. We have here an MP who made statement on radio, and he suffered for it. So at the end of the day, are you telling me that though I have the right to talk, I can just say anything at all to incite people or just to boost the morale of my supporters for them to know that yes, indeed, they have confidence in me or not? We must be guided by these things. Exactly.
Let's not go all political. Okay, so let's talk about democracy. Is it helping our democracy in any way?
Yes, it is. History has said that in 1960, we would refer back to the criminal code. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, our first president, wanting to sustain a one government principle, instigated the PDF, that's the Preventive Detention Act, as in whoever opposes his policies and principles should be detained. The criminal code came into existence to make sure that false rumors, any statement that, as it were, went against his presidency, these people were being put into bars, behind bars. Now, because people were prevented to say what they want to say, you have government not being criticized. Now, if I don't criticize you openly, how can you come out to, as the word,
I keep you on your toes?
So if you don't allow your citizens, who are the most important persons in your state, to freely express their opinions, I tell as it is what I see without any fear. I mean, the ex-president Kojo, as they were, took away this criminal libel because people had the fear that when I say something, I may be taken on in the court of law. So even when you're about to say something, you do not have enough facts, you are always scared to say it. But when I am free to say whatever I have to say, currently I know the president has given consent to the parliament to pass the freedom information bill. These information bills are coming out to help us to say whatever we want to say. Some years back, you can't be on radio to say what you want to say. I mean, like Kojo said, what the MP said, yes, some years ago, many of us probably were not born by then, would have had armor cars and guns all over, but we've grown to that state where we feel the need to say things. And I have to confess that these speeches and freedom has enabled the democracy to grow over the years, and it has helped the nation very much.
It has,
if you have anything,
it has really helped. As he has said it all, because without you expressing yourself or want to, even as we are seated here, democracy has allowed us to be here to also talk our mind as to pertaining this issue. So I believe and I think that freedom of speech has really developed the nation.
Yeah, I mean, we know that freedom of speech is a derivative of democracy, at least. It mean that everybody has the right to say anything that you really want to say. It has helped because, one, it puts governments and leaders on their toe when it comes to accountability to the people. You are voted in, and then at the end of the day, you are surrounded by just a few people that you work with. But the masses who we really need to enjoy from putting you there, they have the right to also comment on certain things that you're really doing over there. And it is not just because they are free, they just say anything, but it's supposed to be more or less a constructive way of coming up, and you criticize and you are seeking for information. So whilst you're making that speech, then that speech you are seeking for information, clarification for issues that are happening which will affect you or even your unborn generation. So let's just bear in mind that if I have the right to speak, I need to speak in order to seek for my right and also my benefits that I'm supposed to enjoy if I put a certain kind of leader in power. That is what we're looking at. So yes, it is helping us a lot, and it is putting leaders on their toes very, very well, because if you're not doing the right thing, somebody is going to say it. With the help of social media network, we're going to lambast you, and then
talking of social media, these days you see you know about the nude pictures that are being circulated around. It's very ridiculous. I mean, how can a human being actually put this? And it didn't start now. I mean, these sex scandals that came up in our universities and everything. Do you think it's as a result of our freedom of speech and expression?
To a very large extent, I have to say yes. You see, human beings as we are, Africans, I have to say that when you give Kwame one, he always wants to get two. And if you don't, I want to borrow the word limit them. If you don't limit them, even though we don't have these, if you don't try limiting them, you see, we always, because we know we have that right, we always want to do. And nobody tells me what to put on my Facebook wall or my Twitter account, nothing. So we are free to put anything out there, but it is so gross, it's disrespectful, and we fail to know that tomorrow we will be there. And those there, they'll do same to us.
They'll do same to us. Yeah.
Exactly. I would say that it's more or less because certain people want to satisfy the desire of their followers, simply as that, and their personal desire, and then the ability to bring down the image or tarnish the image of certain group of people. But it is high time that we need to put in regulatory measures in order to streamline activities on these social media networks. They have come. And believe you me, they have come to stay.
To help.
To help as well too. And then we cannot do away without them. And I know very soon you'll be picking some comments from our Facebook pages and other stuff.
We have to know what our viewers think
Exactly, you get me. So it means that in one way they are contributing positively to the social development of every nation. But let us put certain regulatory measures in order to streamline what we put there and how we conduct ourselves on these social media networks.
Great. Benedicta, do you have anything to add?
They've said it all.
Thank you guys so much. We have to go now, time is up, and I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for coming. Viewers, let's take a break here. We'll be right back.